So I get kind of crowned as the infant terrible, or however Mr. Wicca coined me, or like the 5-minute series badass or hard ass or what have you. And those of you that are watching what I put together, you know, have seen some of my stuff, very hard edged, and against my wishes, Mr. Wicca put me on the community, or the selection committee, feedback committee for this bloody DVD that he wants to put together, which I fought him tooth and nail on how to approach that from the beginning. In my usual manner, I immediately, in probably like 3 emails, picked fights with half the people on the committee, and even brought Richards and my relationship to a wee bit of a close call, to say the least. And you know, one of the people that I was pretty merciless with was Mike Sajeka, and personally, he did an intro thing for Greg Sterling's Failure movie, this mini featurette, which I thought was absolutely horrible and was tasteless, had not a bit of talent. And then the kid does a 5-minute series, and he whimpers the whole time why he's so creative and he can't find anybody to work with him. And I said, you talentless fuck, if you were so damn creative, you'd have people working with you. Stop whimpering and start coding. And I was harsh about everybody, telling, you know, Gwen and Connie how much I wanted to see their tits and the whole 9 yards. You know, me and my standard rock and roll charisma. So, you know, in the interim period, I'm doing this Rockstar Picks TV thing and Infinity Mag, and, you know, here I am, you know, the big rock star, and I go out and I interview these bands, and, you know, and I do all the editing, and I drive all the way to Toronto, and I negotiate it out with the record label. I videotape the band, I interview the band, I put it out there to Infinity Mag, and the site's got 35,000 hits a month, you know, and oh, yeah. And today, my partner, Arun Kale, in India, and the editor-in-chief and the head of Infinity Mag, he emails me, and very apprehensive about me continuing on the series because he's getting huge amounts of negative feedback about me. So I go out on the website, so he sends me a couple of boards, and I go out on there, and there are nothing but post after post after post about this guy, oh, Richard. You can't even get this damn thing straight. Post after post after post about how this guy blows, you suck, stupid American, interviewer is terrible, hate the interviewer, oh, I don't know why, you know, so-and-so lead singer he was interviewing didn't punch the interviewer in the nose, I felt like doing that. You know, down to people sitting there posting and saying, you know, making stuff up. Like, I remember handing another guy my business card, and it turns out this guy's friend somehow gets the card, but passes himself off saying, yeah, this guy hands me his card. I'm dying to call him up and tell him how bad he sucks. You know, yeah, whatever, you fat fuck. I'm still waiting by my phone for you. And God knows I'm no stranger to dole out criticism, but apparently, you know, you got to take it with a grain of salt. And, you know, these are a bunch of little metalhead needle dick pricks that got nothing better to do with themselves but bash me. But, you know, it still does kind of hurt. So, to Mr. Sajeka, yeah, I think your stuff blows, and I think you haven't got an ounce of creativity in you, and maybe you should work on getting some. It would be a nice thing. But just let you know that the big hard ass sometimes gets his ass handed to him as well. And it does hurt. But you got to remember that this is what I've chosen to be, an entertainer as a living, and when you put yourself out there, you're going to have criticisms. And I think that Howard Stern blows, or Conan O'Brien isn't funny, or whatever, but you know, I think they care what I think, and they're making a damn good living doing what they do. As long as they can go to bed and sleep at night, more power to them. So, but, you know, it does hurt sometimes. Well, 15 seconds, who cares? So, when we last left our hero, a couple of things back, there was a segment I did, which was entitled by Richard, because he names these things, what goes around, and I sort of talked about how, you know, how it was kind of an open letter about how I was slammed by some young punks on certain websites, you know, fan sites, fan bulletin boards about my interviews for Infinity Mag, and I kind of was, you know, because I was kind of harsh on Mike Sajecki, kind of said, hey, buddy, you know, I'm tough on you. I don't retract what I say, but, you know, blah, 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 blah. And actually, it caught a little consternation with my partner, Arun Kale, because he was worried about the perception of what was going on. And we actually ended up where he said, I'll honor your last few interviews, but then you got to go your way because, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, I run whatever. He runs a serious magazine or however it was. So anyways, as we come around, as a little time goes by, a month or so later, Mike Sajecki and I became very close friends since, to the point where he actually contacted me, emailed me, and asked me if I would be part in a movie, a student movie that he was running, that he called Purgatory, and he actually had written the part of God for me. And I was flattered. I said, send me a copy of the treatment. And he sent me a copy of the treatment. And it was really good. You know, the kid could really write. And he sent me the final script, and the script was fantastic. Mike is not the most charismatic, and he's not the most commanding person on the planet. But he is one hell of a writer and really very imaginative. And I told him that. So we do the shoot for my part, and you know, and Mike, again, I mean, he just doesn't have the, you know, he just didn't have the control on how to shoot it, on how to control the cast. As a matter of fact, there was one student friend, or, you know, colleague in the class, or a classmate of his little bastard was just a pain in the ass. I mean, the one part I just barked at him because he was goofing around and said, hey, I said, do you mind? Aren't you in this for the art? And he looks like this. He goes, well, I'm only in it for the grade. And I said, then get the fuck out of here. I'll make sure you get your A. You know what I'm saying? He just like shut up after that, you know. And Mike appreciated that, because Mike felt like I was you know, fighting for his cause, you know, I felt really great about it. And I was really, and Mike was apologizing to me profusely of the unprofessionalism or this, that. And I said, Mike, you know what? I stunk. I was terrible, man. Being an actor is tough. I really have a lot of respect for it. I couldn't remember my lines, and I squint with the sunlight. We were up, you know, 17th floor on the train, the old Central train terminal. I mean, it was wild. You know, it was tough. And I said, Mike, I'd really like to do it again. I'd like to do a better job. And Mike immediately was like, oh yeah, well, let's do it. And I'm really inundated with a lot of stuff, and I've actually have to reprioritize my life. And I said to Mike, I'll give you these two recording, you know, to refilm it, and then I'll give you one day for help you with editing and sound thing, but I can't give you any more than that. And Mike actually wrote me back and said, Noel, I really want to take, you're right in what you said, and everything I criticized Mike with, being he took it to heart, and he said, Noel, I appreciate what you said, and I really thank you for being so much into Purgatory, and I want to take it and retool it, and let's do it, film it again in the summer, and find other actors and actresses, maybe not, you know, kids, students that they're just taking a class, people that believe in the thing. I said, hey, that's great. Let's, you know, I'll free up some other projects I'm working, then I can help you. I can edit it, and we can meet and have a beer once a month and talk about it. And I could bring some of my friends and colleagues into this. And I haven't heard from him since, but that was great. And then Arun from Infinity Mag, you know, we had that big falling apart where he was just like, listen, and this was like the second time he's done this, where he didn't agree with what I'm saying, and that's it. Okay, we're going to end. Of course, I'm you know, firm in my decision. And, you know, Arun, the kid is brilliant. He's 18 years old. He writes for like 4 different magazines. I mean, he had a dinky little fan site that, if it wasn't for me, and I'm not saying I'm the reason of his success, but no one took in consideration this little kid from India, and wouldn't even talk to him. When I formed the U.S. office, and I said, form the Eurasia office, and this, then give some structure, and bam, 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 interview, and I would just, you know, he said, I want this interview. Well, I'd go get it, you know, or this album to review, and I'd go get it, then I'd create the MP3s and shoot it over them, and he'd write the review, and no one was the wiser, and it got hits, and whatnot, and the site is going because of the kid. He's intelligent, he's a great writer, he's motivated, he has great aesthetic view of how to handle things, and he really made one hell of a site. So it's been a couple times where we butted heads on something. I said, okay, go your separate, I'm done, I'll just do this and that. And it was always professionals, like, well, you got to do this and that, and, you know, whatever. And, you know, ultimately the big problem with the kid is, for all of his greatness, he's 18. I'm 34. I know some things. I know exactly the way you feel because I was there, you know? Shut up, I'm talking. So I go up there with, so Arun and I, we sort of patch up the first little thing, and then this time Arun's like, you know what? I had a bunch of people that were like interested. And I had a guy from a record label who saw your Halloween interview, and they were like his favorite band, and he's amazing, and he wants to meet with the magazine, and we want to take us places and this and that. And I got to thinking, I really wouldn't like you to resign after this was said and done, because I really want, the stick, and who cares what those stupid people say about it, blah, 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 and, et cetera, et cetera. So, okay, all right, Arun, well, okay, this and that. So that's going, all right. It only gets better from here. So, last night, I'm interviewing King's X, which was like the last of my interviews that I had committed to for Infinity. And I'm looking out there in the audience, in front row, there's that little fat bastard from the boards that hammered me viciously and said stuff like, oh, this guy gave me this card, I want to call him up and tell him I suck, tell him I think he sucks and this and that. And I'm thinking, and I'm going, the whole night I'm like going, I'm going to approach him. I'm going to confront him. But how am I going to confront him? I don't want to fight him. I don't want to be insulting. I want to confront him in a different way. I have to confront him, but in a different way. So the whole night I'm racking my brains, and the kid's up there front row, and he's pounding, the heavy metal stuff. And I know it's him. I mean, I never met him, and I only was able to trace him through the board to his little dinky little heavy metal site. And the kid is obese, all right, and he is like a caricature, like Wayne and Garth were of that. He's the character of the ultimate metalhead in the sense, obviously heavy set, not good looking, alienated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, And I know it's him. So I'm thinking, I'm racking my brains, how the hell am I going to confront him? So at the end of the show, me and my buds, we leave, we're going to head back, and he's walking down the street, middle of Toronto, and I go, hey! He turns around and I said, hey! You got my phone number. You were supposed to call me up and tell me how bad I sucked. And he looks over. He's like, I don't know who you are. Well, I kept walking right up to him. So I crossed the street. He's with his buddy. And he's a young kid, really is. And I'm like, yeah, you're the one that just flamed my ass all over the Inflame board saying how bad I sucked and how terrible I was. He's like, no, I didn't say you sucked. I just said I didn't appreciate for your interview. Aha! It was him. Well, okay, and I knew it. Again, I never met him. I said, listen, you're talking like I never met you. You're talking like I was going to buy your pictures, like you were going to call me up, like I gave you the card. I never gave you my card. And God's honest truth, I'd recognize this kid. And I swear, unless I, flipped out over some Timothy Leary experiment that my parents took that I didn't know of, I swear I never met him. He goes, yes, you gave me your card. He reaches into his wallet and he pulls out my business card. He still has it. A month later, 2 months, 5 months later, the son of a bitch is holding it in his card. The guy has it. He's like, here's your card. I gave it to you. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, listen. He goes, hey man, I apologize. I said, you caused a friction between me and my partner. And he's like, I'll apologize to your partner. I'm sorry. I said, listen, man. I said, we're all in the industry together. We're not here to fight with one another. We're music lovers. We should help one another, not attack one another and this and that. And I could appreciate you not digging my style or whatever, but he's like, well, for that I apologize. And I said, here, and I put my hand out and we shook hands. He said, I'm sorry for the bad blood. I said, that's cool, man. And Mike Cruchot and my buddy and his buddy Greg sort of came over because they, were checking out. They knew I wasn't going to throw down or something like that. But all of a sudden it's like everything what comes around really does go around. And 3-4 months later, look how this whole thing has gone full circle from like a total negative ball to a total positive ball. And it's just, I'm so happy I want to do the Little Bear dance.